let's adopt our agenda. First of all, are there any items that anyone would like to add under unfinished business other? Is there any items that anyone would like to add under new business other?
I guess. Well, I actually think that Senate restructuring equal apportionment is a new issue.
Let's go, hold on for that. That's a different discussion, I think. Hold on just for like 10 seconds.
Okay.
I'm actually going to delete that, so we don't even need to discuss it.
You're killing me.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. So seeing that there are no others, Brian, you had some concerns about the ordering of our agenda.
Yeah.
Kathy is saying that she is pulling, which item was it?
A.
Yeah, okay. Kathy's pulling A.
Okay.
Brian, do you have other concerns that you would like to raise?
I'm a little concerned about B5 because I think it puts the cart before the horse.
Okay.
That if that were to come about, things have to come about before that. So that's
I'm
probably not
fine,
properly agendized.
I'm fine with taking that.
Okay, so we're taking out B5, and we'll hold that to another date.
Or it would come up as a natural part of the business today.
Yeah.
Got it.
But it shouldn't be agendized there.
Okay.
It shouldn't be.
Because we haven't voted to.
Are there any other changes you would like to make to our agenda?
Yeah.
Yes, Brian.
I'd like to move the SEM first readings to the top of, to before the unfinished business.
So you would like to make it right after presidential report?
Yes, please.
Okay. Notice I added went from presidents to presidential. That's kind of cool, huh? Okay, so SEM, E, and F will move up above unfinished business. That's a motion. There is a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Is there any other restructuring anyone would like to do on the agenda? Will?
I just had an inquiry. It was explained to me that I can't have an alternate after I leave. If this is true, then Rinda should be the senator for today, because I have to leave before 40. Is that true that someone cannot have an alternate? It's already announced at the beginning of the meeting? Because I think we've developed since the fall with a set of 2 or 3 different things that have changed. First it was said that you have to stay at the beginning, so I did that. But then now, apparently there's some people are under the impression, I see some heads nodding, that even that's insufficient, and that you cannot have an alternate even if you announced that. So if that's the case, then I'm not here, and Rinda's my alternate for today. So I can go either way on this one, but I just want to follow the rules.
I find it very unclear in our current constitution and bylaws, and certainly there is a proposed change that would make it more clear than it is now. Was there anyone else, a senator, that would like to go and state an opinion on this? Brian.
The way the Constitution is currently written, it says that it is implying that you're choosing an alternate for the entire session. The idea is you're not going to be there, so you have somebody to replace you that time. That's an alternate. When you start getting into, I was here and now I'm leaving, and I'm passing this to somebody else, you actually bridge into a proxy vote. And so that an alternate in most cases is an alternate for the entire time. It's not, I'm here for this time, now I have to leave, and now you become me. That becomes proxy. And I got that because I wasn't clear about it. I got that from the Robert's Rules website and asking people who were on it. And I thought, now ultimately, because there is something before, there's a reform now which makes that definitive. There's a reform before us now, an amendment now that state that unequivocally. The reason why I think we switched to that is I was under the impression that Gary also interpreted the Constitution as written to be an alternate for the entire period. If there is a doubt about that, and the majority of this Senate would currently like to work in a gray zone, I guess that's why we're suggesting an amendment. We're trying to clarify that issue, but it is very important to make sure that there's a distinction, and what that distinction is between alternate and proxy. And if you're here for when you're here. And if you're not, then that's when you have the alternate. But if you're gonna be here for 15 minutes, or if you're gonna come in late, for instance, you couldn't say, I'm not here for the first half hour, and I'll tag in half hour in. You see what I'm saying? And that's where an alternate would come in for. So that's sort of the distinction as it usually exists in places. I believe we have recently adopted that. So whatever the majority of the Senate, without us having a definitive amendment that answers that question, whatever the majority of this Senate would want to do, I guess I'm for.
Anyone else want to speak to this issue? Maybe you want to make a motion to this issue.
Actually, I'd like to speak to it. I think it's important for any of us who have been elected to a position that for the amount of time that we can be here in that role, that we are upholding our responsibility. We have other duties with kids, with teaching a class, all those kinds of things. And maybe it means not staying till the sometimes long meetings that we do have. But I would hope that our perspective is that we as the elected peoples to the Senate are here for the length of time that we can be here, and then we leave when we need to leave. And only in rare situations do we have someone be our alternate. And we truly can't be here.
What do you think of that, Will? Think you're here as a senator for the time you can be here. If you need to leave early, you leave early, and the seat's vacant.
Well, but I think it's just been kind of a past precedent. We've been just following certain procedures this year, and I've been trying my best to kind of fulfill what kind of changed mid-year with certain things that I could do. And when I made this apparent to the Senate from the beginning, there wasn't a problem with it. So if suddenly now there's a problem, then the Senate. I just want to get the sense of the Senate and follow whatever the rules are. I figured for the time that our meetings have been, in terms of especially going beyond the amount of time that our schedule is, that adds extra confusion, and also the fact that a lot of times the most important issues are not covered at the beginning, instead they're pushed towards the end. That creates problems, and I think problems of representation and other things, and so it seemed like a perfect solution was to have an alternate to help assist that, and so far there haven't been any problems with that, but if there's suddenly a problem today, then whatever the sense of the Senate is on that's fine.
Wait.
Yeah, well, to me, until there's clarification, the critical issue for today is who was present for purposes of establishing the quorum, because they both can't be listed for purposes of establishing the quorum. And then the second is who has the authority to vote on matters that may come up during the meeting. And I think that there could be clarification of what an alternate means and under what conditions a proxy can be given. But for purposes of today, those are the two immediate questions.
Right. Is there a motion? Okay, how about this? The chair would like to entertain a motion that would allow Will to go and hold his seat until he needs to leave, and then allow his chosen alternate to take her his vote when he leaves. Is there such a motion?
Friendly amendment.
Yeah.
Proposed amendment.
Yeah.
That the elected representative remain here, participate in the discussions, but if any vote is to be taken, whether he is here or not, it will be made by the alternate. Because we don't want to have two different people voting at different points in the meeting.
That was Brian's point, yeah.
So that would be my proposed.
So that Well, and again, anyone in the room can always be part of a discussion that we have here in the Senate. We do not restrict that just to senators. But that Wayne's motion is that you would take over as alternate now, even though you're in the room. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Gary?
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Point of information, I think you probably want to reword it, because right now it's framed in terms of will, and that what would happen with that individual, you need to make that a general statement, not just applicable to will.
That's a very good point. Would you like to make that a general statement using the word senator instead of will?
Well, I didn't even use his name.
Oh, okay.
But
I did.
But since, yeah, you did.
Right,
I
here is a
think-
and it does refer to he, and so.
Yeah.
Can I just clarify
Right.
something? If we decide that that's the amendment we're going to make, that's what we were doing all along. She's the person who is going to vote for him, she's the alternate, Will's visiting. It's resolved.
It'd be nice if we had it on record in the minutes, so. Is there a second? Or you did second it?
Yes.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay. Will, should we take it over as your alternate at the beginning of the meeting for voting purposes? But we very much want to hear your input, as we would any senator to represent your constituency. Is there a motion to accept the agenda now?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? We have an agenda, we now go to the minutes. Rosalie sent out the minutes to us. Are there any changes, corrections, mistakes, oops? Kathy?
Yeah, on the guests, could we have the gentleman's name who was videotaping? Because he was
I
a guest.
know, he didn't sign in, that's why I had him sign in now. He was the first person to sign. So I don't know, who was here last week? Do
2
we
weeks.
know? Who was 2 weeks ago?
Do we know who the cameraman was 2 weeks ago?
Cameron?
Yes, Carlos Carmona.
Carlos Carmona.
Carlos Carmona, C-A-R-M-O-N-A.
Thank you.
Now, Professor Mercer, is there a way we could see, like, if we wanted to see the video from our Senate session, are they on a website somewhere?
I'm sorry, you can answer that question. Okay, well, after the meeting that is, we upload our files onto cycron.com, our city website. So whatever files we uploaded should be there.
I didn't see it. I checked that. And I didn't see it.
I will double check with Carlos to see what he did with that footage.
I don't believe anything was selected out of the meeting. Looking for footage people want to look at.
Okay. Any other changes, corrections, deletions to the minutes? Kathy?
I also have a question on page 5. I just don't understand the wording. Page 5, the first paragraph, the last sentence. It says, when one encourages education with written Senate policies and procedures, new representatives will be prepared for decision-making. I just don't understand that sentence. I don't know who the one refers to. You see where I am?
One individual?
I just,
Is your page 5?
I just don't know what it means.
Where is it on page 5?
Maybe the
Page
very
five,
first
first
paragraph.
paragraph.
Oh, the first paragraph.
The practical,
First
starting the
paragraph.
practical.
Yeah, the
Last
last sentence. Yeah, I don't know what that one refers to, and I just didn't understand.
One individual.
Seriously, you don't understand it, Kathy?
Just general.
That's correct, Billy. I seriously did not understand it. That's why I am asking.
I think the premise was that if people were trained, but I'm trying to reword it differently, or if there was adequate, or if there was training, and people understood when the policies were written.
That I get, yeah.
Okay, so that I didn't say
An
that.
informed senator makes good decisions.
There you go. I would,
What
that's
did
fine.
you say?
Okay,
An informed
Brian?
senator makes good decisions.
That's how the sentence would
Thank you.
remain. I mean, would finish. Or when an informed senator?
We want it, it's just.
Just take it out.
One
Third
individual.
paragraph.
One individual.
All right, so let's just delete it?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I wouldn't delete it, I would just change it to what you have, which was better.
When an informed senator?
When the Senate encourages education with written policies and procedures, new representatives will be.
That one.
When, okay.
when-
All right, that works, that actually works.
When
It's a
the
little more
Senate
wordy, but we're
encourages
getting paid by the word.
education with policies and
When the
procedures.
Senate encourages education with written policies and procedures, you can take out the second Senate. New reps will be prepared for decision making.
Okay.
Mark?
But Sri, this is a minor thing, I'm just including, working up the ears. This is on page 6, the last sentence of the second paragraph. The way, the question regarding the syntax. 3 of the task force curriculum chairs cultivate an effective voice on the academic senate, not feel necessary to grant voting privileges to the curriculum chair. My suggestion would be is that you feel that 3 of the past 4 curriculum chairs, because that has not been my discussions with Peggy this academic year. She in my discussion with her, and I don't want to drag this out, she was, let's say, in accord with me that there were not effective discussions.
Would it be?
But we're speaking hearsay. In other words, my
Mark?
problem is the syntax sounds like it's factual, when in fact, and I don't want to drag a party that's not in the room in here, and I'm just saying if the syntax was such that it alluded to, from your discussions with that individual, because mine are different.
Mark, would it be more accurate to say in
Yeah.
front of that sentence, Senator Dickey stated?
I like that.
I believe it was me.
I didn't say it was.
Okay,
I apologize.
And I said it based on an email
Okay.
from Peggy.
And I'm just saying, and I don't want to drag
okay,
a third
so,
party into
hold on,
that.
let me do this.
I don't want to do this
So
diplomatically.
what we're saying is that Dr. Gaynor stated that. That's what we're gonna add in front?
That's fine.
Would that be correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So in front of that line, Rosalie.
I apologize. I'm just trying to
Can we
clarify.
subpoena the email?
No. Let's not drag a third party.
Brenda?
Thank you. On page 2, under item 5B, United Faculty, the very first sentence, the Board of Trustees approved the settlement of 2.5% on salary schedule, 1% off the salary schedule. You could add the word both, retroactive to July 1. Page 2, item 5B, the UF, so 1% off the salary schedule, both. Yeah, okay, just add both. Thank you.
Any other changes, additions, deletions to the minutes? Jolena?
I am so sad I was not here last time. If it could reflect that I was absent.
She was in an airport.
I was.
Any other changes? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes as changed?
And so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Jolene. Moving on. Public commentary. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to public commentary? Which one wants to go first?
I'd like to speak to the constitutional change regarding the requirement that faculty teach 3 units to be eligible to serve as a Senate rep. And I just have a few. There are only 3 faculty at Cypress College who are on 100% release time, and we have almost 200 full-time faculty plus our adjunct faculty. It seems inappropriate to me, and the change appears to be directed at the specific faculty currently serving on Senate, and it seems somewhat disingenuous not to recognize that. It seems inappropriate to use constitutional changes to target specific faculty members. There's been a suggestion that faculty on 100% release time have lost touch with the classroom and what it takes to be a teacher. However, 2 of the affected faculty directly affect instruction in the classroom through their roles, in which they bring the latest in pedagogy to other instructors, thus having a clear impact on student instruction and student success. One of these members wrote the grant that provides new programs that have documented improvement in rates of student success and retention. Faculty who are dissatisfied with the representation provided by these senators, especially if the elimination of at-large representation occurs, can simply not vote for them. Based on these factors, I do not support the provision in the Constitution with the 3-unit requirement. Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
There seems to be a great deal of confusion regarding how the Senate should proceed regarding the proposed amendments to the Constitution. I'd like to address the concerns in 4 areas. The process of considering the amendments, the timeline for consideration, the process for submission to the faculty.
Point of order, Mr. President. This is getting into things that are actually agendized on our agenda and might be not for public commentary, but for discussions of those things at that point.
As a guest in our Senate, I think she has a right to public commentary, even if it is something that we'll address later as Senate.
Pick up where I had left off. And additional evidence. First, the process. On September 12, 2013, the Senate voted to approve the formation of a subcommittee to explore possible amendments for the Academic Senate Constitution with specific charge. That committee met and in October presented their recommendations to the Senate. We very much appreciate their efforts, although technically they were in violation of Robert's page 501, since they failed to hold any hearings to allow other Senate members to present their views to the committee. When the committee brought forth its recommendations, it would normally simply offer its conclusions and not its rationale. Robert's page 505.
Point of order, Mr. President. This is actually getting into things that need to be able to be rebutted. And you cannot rebut public commentary, and I do actually believe that this is better to be talked about when things are dealt with in the agenda, so that a dialogue can happen about them, and they are not assumed to be as fact. There is no ability to rebut this because it's public commentary.
That part is correct. And I do see public commentary as an opportunity for a guest to come in and state her opinion, or his.
Point of order. Will the person be allowed to speak during our Senate debate about that issue when it's agendized?
Like any other guest, yes.
So what's the difference between waiting?
Right now, she is requesting to make public commentary.
Another point
on
of,
this.
I get a point of order. Will we be able to rebut the public commentary when will we be able to reference the public commentary when we debate this later?
I don't think so.
Okay, that is
Maybe we can make it public commentary.
Okay, thank you for your ruling.
I believe I left off by saying, let me pick up word in the last sentence. When the committee brought forth its recommendations, it would normally simply offer its conclusions and not its rationale. Robert's page 505. Once the recommendations were offered, a committee member would normally present a motion to adopt the recommendations. Robert's page 506. Well, that has not happened yet, but assuming that it will. Once the motion is presented, the motion is treated as any other motion open to debate and amendments. Roberts, page 509. Thus, it is the right of the Senate, in fact, it is the responsibility of the Senate, to consider each item of the suggested amendments separately and independently. If we are interested in transparency and accountability, the Senate must duly consider each item and decide on each one to accept the committee's recommendations, strike the committee's recommendations, reword the committee's recommendations, or add additional items to the committee's recommendations. All would be done on the basis of normal parliamentary procedure regarding the main motion. Second, the timeline. While I personally have no problem with the committee having recommended a timeline, it is the right and in fact it is the responsibility of the Senate itself to set the timeline. If the Senate does not feel it has had sufficient opportunity to carry out its due diligence in discussing and checking the constituency regarding the substantive matters under consideration, it can and should establish its own timeline.
Point of order. Are you timing this, Mr. President?
I am, but I have to keep stopping for all the objections.
No, not you.
I'm going to ask the Senate to please not interrupt the public commentary.
Are you timing this? It should be 5 minutes.
No, it's 2:02.
Excuse me?
Dr. Gaynor, I apologize for the interruptions. Please continue.
I don't. It should be 5 minutes.
Senator, I did not ask for that opinion. Please do not interrupt. Dr. Gaynor, please continue.
Third, the process. There seems to be some confusion about how possible documents will be sent to the faculty regarding the vote. Some members of the committee have said we will send it forth as one document, while others have said we will send it forth as independent items to be considered. We all due respect, it's not the committee that will determine that. It is the right and the responsibility of the Senate to do so. Finally, additional things. Nothing in the above precludes recommendations going forward that do not gain the majority support of the senators voting. Upon a vote in the Senate, any 6 members can also always offer their own set of potential amendments to the faculty for consideration. Nothing in the first 3 points precludes that. As per Roberts, this approach protects the rights of the majority and of the minority.
Public commentary?
Thank you. Is there anyone else like to speak to public commentary? Brian.
We have presented to the Senate a process that has been pretty open and unfolding over the course of time, presenting a timeline that was suggested by the Senate. The Senate supported the timeline and has supported this process all along. And I do thank the public commentary that it's used to introduce what we're doing today, which is going to be talking about all of those things. The Senate is supposed to decide these things, and we're going to give it a chance to be fully vetted. If we had just gotten to that point, we would have been able to show that. Second point of public commentary that I think is important. Last week, or last session, it was intimated that the Social Science Division cannot find volunteers, and that's why I'm here. Now, the obvious visual evidence of having a at-large senator who's here, our adjunct senators from our division, and our president is from our division, I think that that's obviously not the case. And it is important to understand that I've been unanimously elected by my division through an election to come back here because they want me to continue the reforms that we're doing. And that's what we're going to do.
Thank you. Is there anyone else like to speak to public commentary?
Came in the back.
Pat brought up that we've been doing this since September 16th. That has been 6 months. I'm not on the Senate. I came into the committee, they volunteered me for a position, I took the position with the due diligence, hoping to accomplish something. I feel that we have fully vetted this. I feel that we've taken people's opinions in, put them out there, stated that they were, that, you know, everyone got their say. We've been debating it for months, 6 months. 6 months of our time doing this. Sometimes I feel, because the mention is brought up that this isn't, you know, that there's things going on or something like this, but this to me is somewhat obstructionism. I mean, we're not accomplishing anything. We all don't want to be here till 8 o'clock. I know that. All we got to do is look around at our faces. We don't. We want to accomplish something. We came into this committee, or I came into this committee, I didn't know anybody here to speak out. Came into this committee to try and get something done because I like to do things. And it's been very frustrating, and I'd just like to put that out there for everyone.
Thank you. Is there anyone else like to speak to public commentary? Seeing none, we're now going into special reports. And Rita, you're first up.
So it'll give us a total of 6 representatives. Fullerton has 9 representatives. They're a larger campus than us. They have more faculty members and more union members than us. And SCE has 1 representative. They have 18 union members on their campus. The executive board would meet twice a month. Right now we meet on Wednesdays after or before the regular board meeting. The rep council will meet once a month, usually on Wednesdays, the second or fourth Wednesday from 2:30 to 5. So I've given you information, the job description for each of the positions. There's more information on the website. I look forward to visiting some of your division meetings. I'll be contacting you, or other union members here at Cypress will be contacting your divisions to find out when your divisions meet so we can make announcements and answer any questions. So that's going on now. Elections close March 28th. If you're interested, the nomination form is available online, and it does need to be submitted electronically. You would email it to United Faculty NOCCCD @gmail.com and put elections in the subject matters, and that's all explained on here as well.
The election doesn't close March 28th. To qualify for the election.
Right, to nominate, for nominations.
Right,
Yes, thank you. Nominations, end March 28th, and we'll hold the elections immediately after spring break. We're going to have tables set up throughout campus that will be staffed not only by CTA staff, but also by United faculty members, so you'll be able to vote in person. We'll cross your name off a list, make sure that's one vote per one union member. That's on elections. We also have exciting news. We now have our very own grievance representative for Cypress College and SCE. We nominated Linda Borla, and she graciously accepted, so thank you, Linda Borla, for accepting us. It's a very important function for Cypress and School of Continuing Education. We also talked about several issues that are coming to Senate or have come to Senate recently. One of them, the SEM resolution regarding the 16-week calendar. We discussed it yesterday because it is a resolution directed towards United faculty. And we wanted to share that we appreciate the Senate taking a formal position on the issue. And if the Senate passes the resolution, to keep in mind that we will take it as representative of the entire Cypress College campus. And we know that there are divisions and programs on this campus that would be affected by that change. So just something to keep in mind when the vote, if there's a vote taken today. Also, we discussed the black hole classrooms. In the sense of the UF board is that we would be in support of the Senate, but we are concerned for the health and safety of faculty who are placed in substandard conditions. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ray.
90-degree classrooms.
Pardon?
90-degree classrooms, does that count?
Possible.
Third floor if you
I know. I know.
40 degrees.
Bring your fans in.
We have
Mark Majarian, Curriculum Committee.
Okay, I'm looking. So.
Oh, did I skip? Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on, I screwed up.
That's okay.
Once again.
Okay.
Instead, staff development, Rebecca.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Just a couple quick announcements. Classified appreciation nominations closed last week. We had 28 or 29, I can't remember off the top of my head, nominations. So some really outstanding candidates, and that will be announced on April 11th at the Classified Appreciation Luncheon. As a reminder, there's one more conference funding period coming up in April. So be thinking about that if you are considering doing something. And again, it has to be in this fiscal year, so if you're thinking about doing something maybe in May or early June, there might be a little bit of an adjustment of paperwork-wise, things that we might need to do, so let me know and I'll be happy to help you with that. My term as staff development coordinator is expiring at the end of this semester. I will not be looking for reappointment. So I know that Gary and Dr. Simpson will be putting out the call fairly quickly to look for someone else to do that. And that is a joint appointment between the Academic Senate and the President's office. And, I'm holding this in my hand and I still forgot. There is an upcoming speaker, Dr. Joy DeGroy, talking about culturally specific models of service delivery and academic practice. This is on Friday, March 28th from 9 to 2:30. I believe there will be a light lunch that's being served, and if you're interested in attending, you need to contact the Office of Equity and Diversity. For whatever reason, they didn't put this through the staff development calendar. So I have some of these flyers, so I'll just go ahead and pass these out.
She's the one that's the achievement gap thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Please plan to attend. Oops, that's some other things behind me. But please get your reservation in as soon as possible to make sure that there's adequate room. And it is at Fullerton though, so you do have to trek across the district. Okay, thank you.
Rebecca, I know we'll find a way to more publicly embarrass you before the end of the semester, but I just want to go on record now and say thank you for the fabulous job you've been doing. You have probably the worst time because of the recession that any staff development coordinator's ever had. And you still provided us with excellent opportunities. Thank you. Mark?
Okay, quickly. Tomorrow I'll be in San Diego for the regional curriculum meeting for Southern California. And the topics, quickly, just to let you know, I'm coming into this regional meeting, gather information and represent my curriculum committee. But in terms of the topic list, I'm going through really fast. It's, for me, my purpose there, representing my committee, is to gather information. 1440, we'll be discussing 1440, 440, CID and TMCs, I guess it for STEM. Again, it's a topic about concern about the pre-K unit issue, progress indicators, AB 86, adult ed primer, articulation coordination using CP 21 coding, courses related in content, and that's again their concern that they're seeing in sequential courses, repeated course content. There's a concern about the validity of that. So I will be there tomorrow, and people know this from the plenary session with the Academic Senate. Once the session is over, any PowerPoints that they have at those sessions are posted at the ASCCC website. I'll give a very short report. I'll do it in writing for you to keep it shorter. You know how I am. Keep it shorter. But everybody knows that you can go to those PowerPoint presentations and see what was presented to me at those meetings.
Send me the link and I'll send it to everyone else.
Yeah, and that usually happens, about 2 weeks, a week to 2 weeks after a plenary or an area meeting, that all the PowerPoints for that particular plenary or area meeting have all the PowerPoints up.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Academic Senate Treasury Report. Ron said he has no report. I took a class in mind reading 101 and I got an A.
Does that mean because there is no money?
No, we got money. We got money, and Jolene and I are going to ask you for permission to spend some of it soon. Cypress College Foundation, Rosalie. Basic Skills Committee, Cherie Dickey.
No report, I'll have a written report for the next meeting.
Okay, well, are you guys going to do one combined? You and Sarah?
No.
Yeah, aren't you guys like putting your two committees together to come up with some cool ideas?
Nancy and I, Title V.
I think you're thinking of Kathleen and Sarah.
I'm on BSI.
Yeah.
Oh.
But no, it's joining BSI and Title V.
We look forward to hearing about those cool ideas in the future, okay? Okay? I mean, I've been hearing like some rumors about it and they sound fabulous, so I want to hear more about it.
Then I should say, we're having our next joint meeting this next Friday, not tomorrow. So that will be an opportunity for the two groups to come up with the bullet points of what we want to plan, and I will send that to you for my report.
I look forward to that. Thank you. Student learning, Sarah.
We're continuing to address the recommendations from the ACCGC. Gotten a new report getting started in 2014, which is not talking about what we have done, but what we're doing now. So that's an opportunity to maybe highlight some of the things that we're doing. So I'm working on that. And I've been working with Kathleen for program review, trying to get some more meaningful reports. And she's going to share that with you. So I've been working on that as well.
Thank you, Sarah. With that, let's go right into program review.
Okay, good. I'm giving you our written report for this past year. And I'll go through it kind of quickly, but I basically say who was on the committee, what programs we reviewed. We also went through and identified all of the spectacular things that people were doing, which included things like doing the flipped classroom, 10 new transfer degrees, survival guides, fast track classes, all kinds of interesting things. So we highlighted those in the annual report. Then we identified our recommendations, and most of the recommendations, this was my first time on the committee where everybody came in and presented. It was fabulous. I thought it was a nice esprit de corps, talking about collegiality. Everybody seemed very receptive, plus they did a nice job, plus they were all on time. So it worked out well, I thought. The committee enjoyed the presentation very much. There were some global issues. We identified them as global issues because they affect not just the department that was presenting it, but the campus overall. And there were a couple of issues there. Several faculty questioned why the number of retirements wasn't being replaced. So in other words, they were having faculty retire, and those positions weren't necessarily being filled. They had questions about how that process got done, and in some cases felt that it was going to threaten their accreditation. The second thing was a couple of different departments asked why there's locked classrooms on campus or locked space when they had needs for things like a sound stage and theater productions and things like that, so we identified that. The third thing was Blackboard. The training for instructors is pretty intense, and we have adjunct faculty who sometimes are freeway flyers and do Blackboard at another campus, but they still have to do the Blackboard training at Cypress. So that was also identified, and they'd like to see more training classes and perhaps make it online. That was one of the recommendations. So I'll pass that on to the Blackboard committee. The other issue was the SLO reporting. And if you flip to, and sorry I didn't number this, but it's the page that has the yellow highlights. The current form had some questions that the program review committee, we didn't know what we were supposed to be looking at when it came to SLOs. And the track depth data that we were trying to pull was mishmashed. So Sarah and I met, we came up with a report that just lists, for those people who are putting information into track depth, it provides you with a summary report. So we're recommending that we change the language on the student learning outcomes assessment part of that program review report. And we put down what our recommended change is. It's just basically clarifying what the report is. And now we're going to have that report on there and have a sample attached to. So then the next thing
Let me interrupt you.
What's that?
So the recommended changes,
Yes.
is that something that comes before us here?
Yeah, I think so, because it's a form. So we can either put it on the agenda and agendize it, or if it's not a big deal, we can change it. But I'm happy to-
Put on the agenda for
Okay,
next
we'll do it. I also put the timeline there. Next year, all the CTE programs are up for 2-year review. So we also took a look at the 2-year review form, and if you keep flipping, you'll see a form that says Career Technical Education Program 2-year review. That form was actually developed last year and run by the Academic Senate. Had a couple comments about what we should add to it. For example, some instructions, logo. So we added that. And then we went ahead and did a sample, what the sample would look like. This would be the form that everyone would be filling out. And it's pretty much a checkbox with some comments, 1 to 3 sentences. So it should be pretty easy, pretty painless, easy to hope. The last document that I gave you is the sample. This is of my department's SLO summary. This would be the program SLO report. What it basically does is it takes everything that we put into track debt and it allows me to get a total, which is a miracle. For those of us who've been using track debt, we've never been able to pull totals. So it tells me how many students we did, how many were successful, and what the percent was. Now, the program review committee felt that this report would substantiate any claims that were being made about we're on track, we're doing a great job. The second report, I didn't send it to you because it's really long, but I'll pass it around. This report, the program review committee doesn't want to see. We just want faculty to know that it's in track data and that faculty will have the opportunity to review it and make comments. It lists all of your SLOs and your action plans. So I'm going to pass it around, you can look at it. The reason we didn't want it to go public is that it allows people to second guess you. And we felt that this was probably best for the faculty to self-reflect upon and not to be used publicly for other people to say, well, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. So we said, look at that report, it's in your track ad hoc reports, and then just comment on it. That's basically it.
Good job, I like that.
Any questions? Thank you.
So send Rosalie, those two items,
I will.
the language change and the form change,
Okay.
for the next, agenda.
Okay.
And we'll agendize it for, our meeting.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Mhm.
Is that a word? You know, I've been using that for a couple of years, but when I run it through, it doesn't come up as a real word.
I know. So. I'd just like to give a special thanks because it's really nice to find things, to see things that people are doing right, and what's going well. So it's really nice to see that. I appreciate it. And I know it's not easy to do, it takes a lot of time, so, for everybody.
We tried to
work
make
on
the
that.
emphasis of the program review a positive experience for everyone. We really did try to look for the positive things so that we could all learn from that and then identify it for everyone else to do. So thanks for noticing.
That's very nice. Was Sarah helping you with getting that report out?
Yes.
Very cool.
We couldn't have done it without him. And the administrator, the guy who called us on the day.
Who?
The guy who helped do the back up.
Who's that?
His name's Paul something.
Oh, yeah, it's pleasant to meet you, yeah.
Very cool. Jolena, District Council on Budget and Facilities.
Yes, sir. At our meeting on Monday, Fred Williams was not there. It tends to be his committee, but he wasn't there to present any of the items for us. So Rodrigo presented on his behalf, and he said, in terms of the budget update, we're waiting on the May revise. But he did mention that there are some additional access funds that are available primarily for those programs in the north that aren't meeting their FTES targets. It might be available for those schools of us down here who are exceeding our FTES targets. There was some discussion of the current funding model, which is based on FTES possibly being changed in the future to an outcome-based model. Our governor is particularly fond of that idea. And he did ask what we thought the potential for FTS targets for the next year, 2014-2015. We think we would be able to get to a 3 or 4% growth. They think we can, but cautions that we probably shouldn't be out there chasing FTS deliberately. It's already coming to us. What was super exciting though is he keeps talking about how that deficit that they kept talking about in previous years, it never materialized. Well, it did materialize, just not in the same significance that they thought. And we had a $3.65 million one-time increase to our budget, and pretty exciting stuff. There's money, so that's the bottom line.
I like
There it
that.
is.
Very cool. What you know, it's a little different than just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joanna. I sent out my president's report to you last night, and in the second section, planning and budget, I had a mistake. Thank you, Ron, for catching it. Colloquium is not coming March 25th. The strategic conversation number 15 is March 25th. So that's you know, and that's going to be a fun one. It's on our campus. SCE's hosting it, but it's on our campus in the theater lobby. And some of the best food I've ever eaten at a Cypress College event was at strategic conversation. And you get a chance to meet and work with a lot of people across the campus you might not normally rub elbows with, and that part is fun. And they work real hard to make sure there's good mixed tables. So I encourage you, if you can attend, to join us. Send Pat Humphreys a call or an email, let her know. There's still seats available. I would like to make the following appointments. Staff Development, Kathy Franklin. For the district's Institutional Effectiveness Committee, Mark is unable to continue on that, so Joe Gallo has stepped up to the plate. And then there's a strategic plan work group being formed, like the last minute type thing, or I'm doing the last minute on it. So I'd like to point myself to it since I did not have a chance to put out a call for it, and they need an answer like yesterday.
Is that a college or a district?
District.
Yeah, I know, but I say
Clerk, Billy.
With the staff development position, I know you put that out, you put the call out, but.
Kathy was the only respondent.
Right, I know
not served
Okay.
for the rest of the year.
And there's no reassigned time for it, but for the coordinator position, not for this year, but for next 2 years, 2 or 3 years? 3 years, there'll be a call put out by the president's office and myself that will give a complete job description and then reassign time, things like that. And I'm thinking maybe next week is, I think our goal is to put something out soon so we get it done by the end of the semester. So, do you have any questions, comments?